Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. We talk all things fitness, health, mindset, and especially the messy middle. If you're not new here, welcome back and thank you for being here. For today's video, I want to talk about what I carry in my gym bag. It is officially the last day of my workouts, so I got all my workouts, I got all my running, so I truthfully have done everything that I need to do for this week, and it's a perfect opportunity to tell you, show you what I actually use, what I don't really use, what I think you should be using, and that way you aren't just wasting time and money in products that you don't really need. Before we start, or I guess I think we could just start. So we are gonna start with my headphones. I have the Beats. I previously had the Bose. In my opinion, the Bose broke easily because they weren't as tight as these ones. So anytime that I was doing any type of Bulgarian split squats or just anything that required for me going up and down, they would easily fall and slip off my head. These ones, I have not had any issues around that. So if you are in the market of purchasing new headphones, I would recommend these over the Bose. Then we're going to go into the pre-workout. I personally carry my pre-workout in my gym bag, so we're gonna add into this list. I, of course, use Legion. My favorite flavor is the frosted cranberry. I've been kind of like in that kick for a while. Use code WSF to get extra discount on your purchase. But I do want to talk about caffeine. I want to talk about pre-workouts because, like I mentioned, it's not only about what's in here, but it's also what's going to help you, what's not going to help you, and all these, like I mentioned, messy middle. So personally, I have came across, or I had made the decision a long time ago that I needed to decrease my caffeine consumption. In the phase that I'm currently at, I work out very early in the morning, so I don't have such a big window to eat food prior to working out. If you've listened to my previous video of what I eat in a day, or if you know me a little bit, you know that I always broadcast and I always say you should be eating prior from working out. We do use our carbohydrate stores for our workouts, for energy, for fuel for a gym session. And if we're kind of going empty-handed, you're not going to be able to use as much or be able to give as much output into your gym session as you wish. I do have a short window, but I still do eat. I eat oats with chocolate chips. If you're someone who doesn't feel like you wake up with a desire of eating, or if you're someone who also has to wake up and go to the gym right away and you don't want to be eating, I do like to recommend a glass of water with a pinch of salt and honey or maple syrup, just because they are very fast acting carbohydrates. They don't take as long to digest. As an example, the oats is about preference. I prefer and I like to have a workout where I feel like my stomach is full. I have actually bad workouts, or I don't have really good output in my workouts when I feel like my stomach is empty. However, I have come across many clients and many other people that they dislike to feel that their stomach is full while they're working out. So it's a preference thing. So you can have either or, but I definitely encourage you to be eating prior to working out. I was coming across that I was getting very jittery and I was having a lot of anxiety bursts throughout the day. I had to analyze a little bit about my nutrition, what I was doing, and I realized I was having a lot of caffeine. I had my pre-workout, I had my morning coffee, and then sometimes my afternoon afternoon coffee, and it was just a lot of caffeine for my body, and I had to tone down a little bit. Now I am not taking pre-workout in my workout just because, like I mentioned, I am working out very early in the morning. However, I do save my pre-workout for workouts when I'm doing around the midday, and I'm not having caffeine on an empty stomach, which is also something that I'm very heavy on broadcasting, to not have caffeine on an empty stomach. So that was a little detour on the pre-workout, but definitely a good detour that was meant to be spoken. First things first, my hip thrust or glute bridge pad. My gym does not have a pad, and they did not want to offer a pad, so I had to get my own. This is from Neil Fit. I just purchased it from Amazon, as you purchase everything nowadays. It cost me maybe $10, so not a big purchase, nothing wild. Everything in here, nothing is wild in regard to prices. I am currently using, I want to say this pad very often, because the programs that I have currently for my clients and for myself, they involved a lot of hip thrusts and glute bridges. So this was definitely a purchase that I needed to do, because your glutes are a very powerful muscle in your body. You're very strong. It's the largest muscle in your body, so you can load them up. They're gonna be able to lift the weight. However, especially talking about the female community, that pressure, that amount of force, that amount of weight does not feel good to be putting over here. So that's why I always recommend to use this. This is for every levels, beginner, intermediate, advanced. I have some equipment here that might be more towards the intermediate, advanced, but this is a necessity, especially if you're trying to grow or if you're working on growing your glutes. This is something that you need to purchase because of what I mentioned before. And as I mentioned, it's not a crazy purchase, $10, and you can have a really good workout that doesn't hurt you and hurt your body. The second thing that I use the most, so these are my grip wraps. They are disgusting because I don't wash them, but they're with me for about 4 years, or I think I want to say we're heading for 5 years. We're heading for 5 years together, and that's a lot. That's a lot, especially because I use these. I haven't used them so much recently, but they're something that I could easily use every single day. As you can kind of tell, they've been loved. They've been loved for many years. This is another thing that I highly recommend for, once again, any level. And I'm gonna be talking about how much your body can tolerate weight. If we're talking lower body, upper body, your muscles are able to tolerate a lot of weight. However, and once again, if we're speaking about the female community, our grip will give out. Our grip will give out very easily and very quickly over our glutes or our back. So this is something that I highly recommend if your goal is to increase muscle, and they will just allow you to lift heavier weight without having to have that ache in your hand or without feeling like they're falling from your hand. I do recommend for you to always train your grip strength, but at some point you are going to want to have and purchase these, because if we're talking about muscle growth, we want to get close to that failure or close to failure, and to allow that is knowing that we're getting close to failure through our muscle and not through our grip. These are definitely a good purchase and a necessity. I think I bought them for $9, so once again, nothing of a crazy purchase, and as you can see, it's lasted me for 5 years, so definitely a good product. We have my belt. Now, I have not used this belt so often recently. I'm not really squatting or I'm not really deadlifting or anything like that entitles me for me to use a weight belt, a lifting belt. I am a huge advocate that if you do not need this, you should not be using this. But I do use them a lot once I go into more of a powerlifting or more of a strength focused program. And like I said, it's a good thing to have, but same thing as I mentioned with the grip wraps. It is a tool, but it's very important to also address any weakness. Yes, this is an amazing tool, but let's work on your core and let's work on your strengthening your core, stabilizing your spine to allow you to have very solid and very stable compound lifts, and without having to solely and only rely on this equipment. I would put this in the category of more intermediate slash advanced. It's actually very funny, or I don't know if I showed you the brand, but it's a very funny story because I used to work at the gym of my school, and we had a policy of 30 days and you can keep it if nobody came from the lost and found and asked for it, and so I kept it. So this one has also lasted me for about, I want to say 6 years, and it was for free. So far we're going $20 in here. I haven't had the opportunity to use these yet, but I actually have so many cool ideas of what I want to be using for these. These are resistant bands, so they go from, of course, super small and super light to thick and strong. I don't have right now purpose for them in my current workouts, but it does not mean that I won't in the future. My gym unfortunately doesn't offer, so if your gym offers it, you don't really need to purchase these. I love these because you can alter and modify your resistance profiles. So you can modify where the exercise feels the lightest, where the exercise feels the strongest, and it can really help you on exercise, for example, the pull-ups, or for example, Nordic curls. I'm a fan of a good Nordic curl exercise. They allow you to target your hamstrings in the mid-range, something that we don't really train awfully, but I like to incorporate every so often in my programs. And with these, it really allows you to not make the exercise easier, but in a way it allows you to have a better execution because you're having this assistance. For example, I like to hold the resistance bands in the back, so when I'm going down, it's creating this stretch, right? And when I'm needing to get up, which is the hardest link, is the mid-range, so when I'm getting into that ascending position, the resistance bands helps me with that. These allow me to get into and out of that position easier without having to have a wonky execution. This is it could be very good for beginners as well, especially if you're not doing workouts at the gym, you're starting to work out at your home. A good set of resistance bands like this can do wonders for you and can give you actually a really good exercise. Hard to put it in a level. It's, I would say, still pretty beginner friendly. I got these from a state sale for, I want to say $10 as well, but the brand is SunPow, so I'm sure you could maybe find these on Amazon. It's called the Nordic Stick. You can purchase these and get a discount with DOM10. So I love this. I absolutely love incorporating a good Nordic exercise on my program, but if you're not going with someone that can hold down your ankles, it's very hard to find a good setup for these. I used to do this, and you can check it a little bit on Instagram if you're interested, but what I used to do is I would go into the Smith machine and set it up as if I was going to do a hip thrust, and put the bench right there, lower the barbell, so the bench I was able to put my knees and the barbell would pin down my ankles, and I would be able to get into this position where I would drop my body and then raise it back up. What I mentioned with the resistance bands is that I used to hook it up on the top of the Smith machine and hold on to it, and that's the way that I was able to lower and, you know, raise my body. But it's a lot of setting up, so this helps a lot, because this, you're able to just put it on a wall or put it something where you're able to hook this part into it, and you put your feet here, and then you're able to, this supports you, you're able to go up and down with no issues. It's more intermediate / advanced, but don't knock it before you try it. You can, if you are a beginner who wants to try it out, definitely go for it. And we have this little bottle. So this little bottle is liquid chalk. I actually have 2 bottles. This is an amazing tool to help you with your grip strength. We always want to be strengthening our grip naturally. Like, we don't want to fully rely on our equipment, and this goes for everything. Personally, I'm someone who has very sweaty hands, so it's easy for me to start sweating during a set and to drop the barbell, or having to drop it to, like, you know, wipe up my hand and grab it again. So this helps a lot when I'm in the process of increasing my grip strength, especially like, for example, deadlift. So I put a little bit of this, and because it's liquid, it just comes off with water and it doesn't make a mess. So I find these are very good. This is the brand Notorious Lift. So these are deadlifting shoes. They, as you can see, they're very tiny. There's not much of a sole, like, they're very flat, they kind of look even like a sock, and they have grips in the back. I bought them, and they're cool, they're flashy, they're all cool, but personally, I don't think it was a necessary purchase. I would say that if you have a nice flat shoe that's hard, for example, Converse or Vans, you can truthfully get away of having a good lifting session, talking deadlift, lower body, a good lifting session without having to purchase a shoe like this. Or you can even do barefoot, not necessarily barefoot, but like in your socks. I know a lot of people don't want to do that with good reasoning. So if you have a good hard surface shoe, you can do a really good session. I used it a couple times, and I could get away with using Converse or Vans. So personally, I think that it's not a purchase needed, but I do know a lot of people that use them. I do know a lot of coaches and a lot of deadlifters that use them, and they like them. So it's just my personal experience. My wrist wraps, these are from Gymshark. These were a gift, so I don't know how much they were. I like these a lot. I do not use them as often because once again, like I mentioned with the grip wraps and what I mentioned this, I don't want to solely rely on the equipment. So I use things, for example, if I'm doing a heavy bench press or heavy shoulder press, anything that I need extra support on my wrist, that is when I use these. Because if we're talking of a powerlifting session or a strength focused workout, yes, you're going to need some equipment to assist you with lifting these crazy amount of weight, but you don't want to rely on it, because at some point you do want to strengthen your weakest link. So if your wrist is very unstable and very weak and it's giving you a lot of issues, we need to address that and not put a band-aid over it with our reps. We want to be addressing the instability. We want to be addressing whatever needs to be addressed around here to allow us to have a much solid lift and a better foundation in our execution. The rest is like a little of, you know, I have my business cards, band-aids, I have my deodorant and self-care stuff. I do have this mouth guard. This was a gift too. Is to allow you or to help you with the clenching of your mouth when you are doing heavy lifting, for example deadlifts. So it says over time clenching wears down the mouthpiece and it stabilizes your bite. I used it a couple times. It's fun. It's nice. If you're a beginner and if you are someone who's starting or just someone who hasn't had the knowledge or the experience of knowing what to get, I would say these two things, the grip wraps, and if you're a girl and you're doing a lot of hip thrusts or glute bridges or wanting to grow your glutes, this one for your barbell. Now of course you can get more, not crazier, but you can have better equipment the more and the more you go on. All of these things are to support you, right? They're to support your session, but at some point we don't want to be relying on them 24/7. It's a little bit of my gym bag, as I said, and I try to stick with actually things that I need. I don't purchase or buy stuff that I know that I can get away of not using. For example, you can purchase the heels, heel platforms to elevate your heels, but I personally just use plates. You can purchase handles that like is able to suit your hand properly or hand better. I just use the handles in the gym. You can purchase ankle straps. I just use the handles in the gym that I have found that if you put in a correct place for your shoe, it won't slip. So you can do any type of kickbacks without having any issues of not having ankle straps, because my gym doesn't have ankle straps either. If we're going to get something, get these two boys. I wish I had a code for you, but I do not have a code for these two. But if you do want to have or get any of the rest, for the North Stick you can use Dom10, and for any leisure product you can do WSF. And that's it. I hope you liked today's video. If you're not subscribed, definitely make sure you're subscribed. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and comment anything. Let me know what is in your gym bag.